The Minstrel's Road, a gentle medieval travel story set in 14th century Europe. It follows a wandering minstrel named Arno, who journeys with his lute from castle to village, forest to abbey, collecting songs and trading them for shelter and bread. The pace is unhurried, lyrical, and dreamlike, ideal for drifting into deep sleep. Chapter 1. The Castle Gate. Dusk spreads slowly across the valley, brushing the stone walls of a hilltop castle with gold. Inside the outer gate, torches were lit one by one, each flame bending to the evening breeze. A minstrel named Arno adjusted the strap of his lute, its wood polished by years of hands and travel. He had walked all day along the river path, and his boots were dusted white with lime from the chalk road. The steward at the gate nodded him through. "Songs by supper," the man said, "and the cook keeps the fire warm." In the great hall, nobles and servants sat together on long benches, the meal nearly done. Arno strummed a gentle tune, and the hall softened. Children hushed, dogs lay their heads down, and spoons slowed in their bowls. The melody was not meant to dazzle, but to soothe. A river's murmur turned to sound. Later, with bread and cheese shared among his fingers, Arno sat near the fire. Sparks rose like brief stars, and he listened more than he spoke. When the embers dimmed, he stretched on a straw pallet by the hearth and fell asleep to the slow breathing of the hall. As steady as a cradle, rocking Dot. Chapter 2. The Road Beneath the Moon. At dawn, mist clung to the meadows. Arno left the castle walls. Behind, his lute tied carefully in cloth. The road wound between hedges, where sparrows darted, and beyond. Fields spread like quiet seas of wheat. He walked without haste, keeping step with his own song. Now and then, he sang softly, not for an audience, but to keep company with himself. The tune floated through the mist and seemed to belong to the earth more than to him. By noon, he reached a bridge of stone, its arches worn smooth by centuries of feet. He paused at the middle, leaning on the parapet, watching the water carry reflections of cloud and sky. A mill wheel turned steadily nearby, groaning like an old ox, but never complaining. A farmer's cart passed, piled with hay. The driver lifted 2 fingers in greeting. Arno answered with a few notes on his lute, and the oxen seemed to nod in rhythm. As twilight returned, he camped beneath an oak. The lantern flame glowed softly against the bark. Crickets began their chorus, 1,000 tiny musicians of the night. The minstrel lay with his lute beside him, the stars above stringing their own silent music. Sleep came like another song, one without words. Chapter 3. The Village Fair. The next day's road led him to a village alive with a fair. Stalls spilled over with apples, bolts of cloth, jars of honey, and barrels of ale. Children laughed in circles, chasing wooden hoops. Dogs wagged through the crowd, tails like banners. Arno set himself on a low stool by the well and began to play. His tune was simple, rising like a bird and settling like a leaf. People slowed. A baker offered him a roll. A potter set down a cup of cider. A girl brought wildflowers and laid them at his feet. He told a story in song of a knight who traded his sword for a book, and of a queen who preferred a garden to a throne. The villagers listened, smiling as if they recognized themselves in the tale. As the sun-dipped torches lit the square, musicians joined, a drum, a flute, a rebec. Together they wove a sound both lively and calm, fit for dance but also for dreaming. The night ended not with clamour, but with the soft echo of notes fading into the dark. Arno slept in the hayloft. Above the stables, the sweet smell of straw, a pillow for his journeying mind. Chapter 4. The Forest Abbey. Days later, the road narrowed into forest. Tall beeches and oaks crowded close, their leaves filtering sunlight into patches of green gold. The air smelled of moss and rain. By evening, bells tolled faintly through the trees. An abbey stood at the forest's heart, walls pale against the dark wood. The brothers welcomed the minstrel kindly, offering bread, broth, and a corner by the hearth. That night, in the candlelit hall, Arno played for them. Not bright songs, but hymns slowed into quiet threads of sound. The monks listened with closed eyes, some lips moving in prayer, some hands folded in stillness. When the last string hummed into silence, no one spoke. Silence itself was the answer. Arno rested on a cot beneath a narrow window. Outside, the forest whispered in the wind, and owls called in patient rhythm. The abbey bells marked the hours, not to hurry them, but to remind them that time was a friend. Sleep gathered him gently, like a cloak around his shoulders. Chapter 5. The road goes on. When dawn colored the abbey windows with rose light, Arno set out once more. His steps were steady, his lute light against his back. He did not count the miles. Each field, each bridge, each doorway of shelter was its own ending, its own beginning. His songs were not possessions, but gifts that stayed behind, like footprints, on a soft path. By night, he reached a ridge where the land opened wide. Villages smoked in the distance, rivers glimmered silver, and roads threaded on like gentle lines of a song not yet finished. He sat, played a single note, and let it fade into the air. Then he lay upon the grass, eyes closing, breath matching the quiet world. The minstrel's road went on in his dreams, endless and kind, carrying him forward without hurry, without end.